All right, we are back for our next session here. We've got DJ Big Ron is in the wings, and he will be up with us in just a moment. If you're just joining us, thank you for coming out and joining us. If you've been here the whole time, how awesome is that? You are going to try to see if you can be here as long as I am today. We've gone a long way, and we've got a long way to go yet today. So we've got a lot of great content out there, and I think we've got everything going, and our web things, yes, it looks like everything is moving along right now. So we are looking awesome, and we've got Ron coming up here. Once again, if you are wondering about the schedule, go to djntv.com/mini sessions. That's where all the links are for all the shows. You can catch the ones that you missed, and you can catch the ones that are up and coming. So Ron, I'm going to bring you in right now. He can hear me, but you guys can't hear Ron. So I'm going to move it over. And Ron,
Hey.
you got your mic on.
Yes.
Nice. Sweet. Sweet.
Do I sound okay?
Yep, it'll work. I'm going to back off my mic so they can adjust their volume a little bit, and we will go.
All right.
Cool. So what are we going to be talking about today, Ron?
Well, we're going to be talking about my top 10 songs that I feel, and it doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for every location from where you may live or whatnot. But this is my top 10 list that I feel that works the best for weddings. And I know we talk about weddings for top 10, but I think it's a top 10 list that I could use for corporate parties. It's that little bit of everybody type of list
Nice.
that I think that can be used for everybody. And it's very interesting because you have songs like Baby Got Back and some of these other tracks that are out there. I mean, they're still good. They're from the, back in the day, but yet I'll have older people even ask for that song. The big butt song, they call it now.
Yes.
So it's pretty interesting.
Yep, good stuff. Good stuff. So let's jump into our list, and so we can talk a little bit about them. Because for those of you who haven't followed, Ron has done different music shows on his Facebook channel, and he's been on. We've talked music, some forgotten hits. So Ron's got a different kind of a taste in music, and he has more of that classic hip hop is kind of a strong area. I think, would that be safe to say?
Yeah, I've been an old school fan all my life. My mom was a dance instructor, and
nice.
I got into disco at a very young age. And my dad was a plumber, and he listened to country music while he worked. So I got a cross between the two genres.
Oh, nice. Well, let's get into that. Let's get into the list. What are we kicking it off with?
Okay, my top 10 here, in number 10 is a song that I can use almost at every event except for school dance. I can use as a trigger song to get people on the dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that is Can't Stop Falling in Love by Elvis.
For sure.
Elvis Presley. It works every time. There are a lot of men out there that won't get on the dance floor, but when it comes to a slow song, especially a classic like that, they'll come onto the floor.
Every time, as you say, that's a great pull them out there, get them off their butts song.
Yeah. And then, you hit them with something like, The Twist or Rock Around the Clock Tonight kind of song. And, it just kind of falls into play. But I feel that's, and a lot of times it's because of memory. Their grandparents they remember, or their parents, their song or something. So very useful.
Good.
Baby Got Back, Sir Mix-a-Lot.
It's there. Yep. There's no way around that one.
Yeah, and that's an interesting song. I mean, like I said, I get all ages asking for that. There's definitely some events I probably wouldn't play it, but a lot of times I just hold off and wait on that song and wait till I get a request for it.
Yep.
9 times out of 10, when I'm going around table to get requests during like cocktail hour or dinner, I'll get that on the list, and I'm like, okay, I'll play it then. But it's one of those songs I kind of hold off on too because I don't know how conservative that particular event may be.
Yeah. And it's best to be a little conservative in those situations.
Yeah, totally. Back in the days during that time, there was a real line between music, and you really had to be careful how you cross that. Nowadays, the people that are in their 60s still remember these songs from when they were in their 40s or whatnot. So it's very interesting stuff. Another one I think is just a hit between a rock genre and a rap genre is that is a definite cross
Which was
for
song
for a little
title?
bit of everybody.
We lost the song title. What was that one?
Tricky,
Tricky. Oh
tricky,
yeah,
Run DMC.
fabulous tune.
Yeah, yeah. It's a cross between a rock genre and a hip hop genre, and they were the ones that made that. Like Walk This Way is another great track, which I can only pick 10, but Walk This Way is another track where uh, it kind of broke that divide that was there. So great group. And then I usually fall, and to add to that, and I usually fall around with some Beastie Boys right after Tricky. It just seems to kind of work. Okay.
Good stuff.
Another great track is "I Don't Like It, I Love It" by Florida, Robin Thicke, and Verdine White, which is Maurice White's brother that plays bass on Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, I didn't even pay attention to that as much as I played. I never paid attention that he was on there playing, but you could definitely hear him.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now that's the number of songs that it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that they were involved with that one way, shape, or form, especially back in the '80s when you're looking at a lot of those tracks that
Yeah,
uncredited they were in that song. Wow.
yeah, yeah. He was in there, and you could definitely hear the bass line. It was a real bass line, not an 808 or anything. Um, then a lot of times I'll mix after that. I'll mix in the beginning of Fireball
Mm.
from Pitbull.
Yeah.
The intro with the guitar. That goes really good with the outro of "I Don't Like It, I Love It."
Sure, sure.
And then I added in there the Danza Kudo song. I didn't write the artist down. What's his name again? Off the top of my head. I didn't write it down. I write that down. I'll get it back to you guys. But it's Danza Kudo. I know somebody will probably message and say something, but I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Another great track. It's more like a salsa song. And it was also on Fast and the Furious. So a lot of times I'll make an announcement like, for all you Fast and the Furious fans, check this song out.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys will know it. So it's a great song. Goes well with the Fireball outro. Another great slow song that I try to play is "This I Promise You" by NSYNC.
Oh yeah, good tune.
And there's a couple. There's two versions. There's one version that's a little bit longer. Sometimes I'll play that one if I haven't played a slow song in a while. And this is great for the '90s kids. Maybe some of the late '80s, but mostly the mid to late '90s when the whole boy band thing really jumped off again. That was a great tune, and it still is, and people from all ages seem to like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you play that one up there a lot?
I do that occasionally, like if I'm doing that event when I've got that crowd, because I do I end up hitting boy band stuff probably way more than most DJs do, because there you can connect with that age group very, very well with that.
It's a nice end, I think.
Yeah.
Kind of mellow song because it kind of mellows everybody out. They're not all hyped up and they're leaving. Another one, number 3, "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey.
Yeah, classic. Yep, the best sing-along one for most events nowadays.
Everybody knows it. It's a air guitar type of song, and they'll sing along to it.
Yeah.
Another one too here. Let's see, number 2, 24K Gold. 24 Karat Gold by Bruno Mars.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hot song this summer.
Yeah. It's took a long time, I think, to really jump off. It seems, but it really is starting to pick up. And again, there's so many songs I could do a top 20. Really, I really could. But
oh yeah,
this is really hard picking these songs out because there's so many songs I know that goes with those, and it's frustrating. But number 1, drum roll if there was one. Uptown Funk, Bruno Mars. You can't fight that one. It seems, especially the late 30s, 40s crowd that were into that whole 80s funk, Sister Sledge, We Are Family kind of stuff.
Yeah, so, and I think it's got enough hanging power where 24K is a great song. that'll be a debate for DJs as we go through the spring and summer. Did 24K outdo Uptown Funk, or is Uptown Funk going to still be one of your anchor songs for your events?
That's tough. I mean, I played both last weekend, and I haven't played much of the 24K, but the Uptown Funk, I got a cool remix where it's got they throw Atomic Dog in the remix of it and a couple other little tracks.
Nice.
That I play that, and they're like, oh yeah, I remember that one, and Sally and a couple other ones they put in there. So that's my top 10 list.
Cool. Good tracks for those of you who go back, listen to it. You can jot those down, and most of them you guys are probably playing, but there might be a couple in there you're like, hey, I didn't think about that song. That happens every once in a while.
Yeah, it's, and I try to look at things a little bit different sometimes, some of the tracks, but and I try to see what's going to mix well. These are obviously there's little sets in these, as you can hear.
Yeah, for sure.
But I try to keep it. That's my top 10 though.
Cool, good stuff. We'll get a follow-up show where we're going to come in and talk about some of the sets that they go in, because that's always a fun. I enjoy those shows. So, Ron.
Oh, I'd love to.
Yeah, we'll get that set up and such. Thank you for being on. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Carr. We are doing the DJ and TV mini sessions today.
Bye, everybody.
Pre as you're getting hooked up. Let's see, the wheel move. No, it's not. Your camera is. You guys are, for those of you watching, I'm gonna send you a thing to ask to start video, Carr, and it should pop you up. There we go, and that'll be just a second. There you are. Awesome. Ta-da! You're not on the real world stream yet. We'll get you there in just a second. Carr is up next. I wanted to just, for those of you watching, thank you again for watching. Make sure that you're going out and sharing the links for the shows today. That will help us tremendously. We really appreciate you watching and being here with us during our DJ and TV marathon, because we've got a lot of stuff coming at you and a lot of thoughts and ideas and craziness. So the next up is Carr Hagermann. He's a friend that, goodness, we met a long time ago, and one of the most intelligent guys you will find in the entertainment world. Carr,
well, that's nice, very nice of you.
Yeah, isn't that, can't we say that?
Yeah, that's okay.
But when Bill Herman's around, he wants me to say that about him too.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's Bill.
It's Bill. And Bill is awesome.
Yeah.
So Carr is an author. He has presented at a number of our conventions over the years, and just a fabulous top performer. Is one of his latest. I have that book up in my bookshelf.
Thank you. You're one of three.
Yeah, exactly. And the other one's Dean Carlson, who has written numerous times talking about the book top performer, and specifically working. And I don't have the terminology down, but talking about the working of one's space and working with the people and engaging them in shows, right, and how that translates to DJ. So,
right.
Carr, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Well, one of the things you and I, this kind of goes around. I should say I've been hanging around the DJ business longer than probably allowed by law. I go back 30 years. I had my own mobile DJ setups. I worked multiple nightclubs, and I had multiple. That's how I met Bill Herman. I had contracts with multiple nightclubs. But the love of my life has been street performing and working at both traditional street and working at Renaissance festivals. And I toured around the country. And I've been doing that since I was a kid. And so one of the things that I find interesting about the DJ business, and even that term kind of is a little clunky, but about the business of entertaining other people in an environment, typically around a celebration of some sort, is the real possibility that people behind a table or that bring music out can create a connection or an environment or a happening or an experience for people that isn't just momentary, that in fact is a memory or moment that can last for a lifetime. And as a DJ, one of the big issues that I had when I would look at my competitors, and even some events that I went to where there was a competitors, is how often I think over time a lot of people in this business kind of disconnect a little bit, or they have their thing that they do. And so top performer and is ultimately about what I like to talk about is this notion of connection, which is really an overused term, right? I mean, when I say overused, we use it as a kind of shorthand, meaning I need to provide my customers with a great service. And I think part of the problem with seeing it that way is that we miss the real potential of creating a moment where people feel something, yes, a sense of love and connection. And so I brought something I wanted to show you. So I started collecting clocks a long time ago. This is kind of a weird hobby, but I'll explain it. So this is a 1940s Ingraham, what they call an 8-day clock, and it's a wind up clock. I have several of these, and then the travel clocks like this that I have. And one of the things I love about clocks, as opposed to my phone, these kind of clocks, is it requires something from me. In order for this to work beyond 8 days, I have to come to this little thing here and turn it, and then it makes tick-tock, tick-tock sound. Now, I had these all over the house at one point, but drove my wife and I crazy because everything was going tick-tock. But what I would do when I would go to do presentations is I would bring one with me. If I was a DJ, I would bring it with me and have it in even the little ones nearby, so that always reminding me that connection and engagement, even entertainment, requires something from me. I can't just step back and hit a button. I need to wind it, touch it. I need to get out from behind all of the technology, all of the stuff we do as DJs, and get out and make a human connection with other people. And when I do that, when I become a member of their celebration rather than somebody who's providing a service, I now effectively can compete against other companies that are just bringing equipment and hitting buttons. I become a part of their family, and they will remember that forever and ever and ever. And of course, then what happens is people want to use you again, or they recommend you to their friends because you matter to them. So I like to encourage people. I should even show you this. I even have this device here, which is the same thing, only this clock here, I actually spin it to the amount of time that I want to be focused. And you can see this is how much time we have left. This is called a timer. So I'm really into these. But wait a minute, hold on. I'm not done yet. So then look at this. So then I'm a photographer. So I went around, I looked at this. If you remember, you and I are roughly the same. You're probably a little bit younger than me. But this is an ME, a Pentax camera, 35 millimeter camera, right? Yeah. This is a 28 millimeter lens. And you know what's in here? Film. Now there's some probably DJs who go, the hell's film? Because they're used to seeing these CF, right? Film. What is this? What about film is a useful image for what DJs do? I can tell you what it is. This requires, again, that I have to do the settings. I have to actually make this thing function in a way that creates something useful and memorable, right? But here's the thing. Inside this camera is a record of all the stuff that I was looking at, that I wanted to develop. Yes. Think of your business this way. Think of connection this way. Instead of thinking of connection as a thing that's on your Facebook page and your social media, think of it in an analog way, like this. When you're done, how many of the 12 or 24 images that were on a traditional camera, are those images going to be something that people remember? Are you going to be presented in a frame here where people go, Carr was amazing. John was amazing. He came in and made this event, whether I'm emceeing or DJing, he made this event not just about entertaining, but about something more memorable and long-term, something that lasts a lifetime. So I always ask people at the end of your shows, at the end of your life, at the end of your presentation, when you leave, if somebody were to find a camera of that event and they had those pictures opened up and they had them developed, there's a term for you from the past, what would they say about you? And so I think that's what top performers, I've worked with almost over 100,000 young performers in my life as a director and at a Renaissance festival here and around the country. And that's the first thing we talk about with young performers is how do you get from behind the costume, the makeup, and all of the stuff, and come face to face with your audience, and it's not about them, it's not about you, it's about all of you together that creates something memorable that people won't forget. So that's really what the DJ business is ultimately about, is how do you touch, move, and inspire people with a combination of music, love, and joy that comes together. And the same thing, by the way, if you're an MC, how can you make that stage a place where something extraordinary happens as opposed to something predictable and ordinary. So, and that's what I wrote Top Performer, and I have all these other things around, and my desk is, and just by the way, it is Sunday, so I have a beer.
That's right. It's
time to make sure I had that. So there we are. So I think that's when I look, there's a simple exercise I ask people to do when I'm working with is that if you were to write down what does the word connect mean for you, a lot of people, in social media or in the internet of things, connection means I'm selling, I get people into my funnel, they made a connection, and there's a kind of driving force that happens in that world. But connection for me, the word that always comes up for me is love. If I connect with somebody in a fundamentally human way, no matter what I'm doing, then I think inside that is love. Now, here's a really interesting, I think, practice that you can take away from this. If you want to become the best performer in the world, in my opinion, the best way to practice it, besides your shows or when you're emceeing or you're doing your thing, but when you're out in the world on a day-to-day basis. So what does that mean? Well, if you want to get good at connection, you have to practice that muscle. Go out and connect and make everybody you meet an example of what you want to create in the world. So connection. So if you're at a store and you're buying something, be an awesome customer and seek to find something interesting about that person that you can connect with. Ask questions. Be curious about who they are. Sitting with people who are doing a job, you find out, like I did not long ago, this woman was over Christmas. It was fascinating. I was at a store. She was helping me out. I was buying something for my partner for Christmas, and we got to chatting. It turned out that she was a doctor and that she had left to raise kid, and not only a doctor, but she'd been in the Peace Corps. She did all these really interesting things. And here she was at a Macy's store working part-time, but we sat and chatted just briefly about what an amazing life she had. That's connection. And if you can do that over and over and over again, from the lowliest hourly person that may be kind of grumpy behind that fast food counter to everywhere you go, you become a vessel of great connection. And that's a way to practice it over and over again. So that's kind of where I'm at with connection. Did I make any sense?
No, you definitely did. The concept of connection. Now, I've watched videos of you, and I've watched your live performance as the rat catcher at the Renaissance Festival. Let's talk about the connection there. Now, how do you handle that when you're connecting? You've got an audience of 200 people sitting in front of you.
Well, for me, people ask this question actually quite a lot. How do you get people to engage with you, particularly if you're doing things that are kind of a little rowdy? And for people who don't know, my character is a little bit insulting and kind of provocative. But the word provocative is really important. What I do is I throw something out there, and I believe of all the skills I have, probably the most developed is the skill of observation. I can look out and scan the crowd and find that person that picked up my invitation, which is whatever joke I threw out, an insult I threw out, a comment, is a sort of an invitation. There's a great book. It's titled, it's called Everything is Invitation. And I love that. So I throw that out there. It's an invitation, and I scan that audience, and I find that family or that person or somebody's laughing or that eye contact lets me know that person's in. They've accepted my invitation on some level, and now I can engage them. And here's what's interesting. If you really pay attention to that and you engage people that way, and you notice if they're with you, you can do almost anything with it. They want to take that adventure with you. Oh, yeah. So that's how I do. And of course, the Renaissance was a little unfair because people are paying essentially they know that they're going to get harassed by, their day's going to be upended by some guy in a costume. But I also think that if you're an event, you expect there's a level of expectation that you're going to have some fun and doing things. I think that can work anywhere.
Yeah, I've watched how you work the room and connect with people, and as you sit back, sometimes we're not seeing what you're seeing. Those little invitations, right. How they're reacting to your invitation. And it's like, okay, how did he know that they were going to react? And not that it's a home run each and every time, but sometimes you pick someone and it's like, oh, this is awesome.
Sometimes there's, and oddly, for as provocative as I am, and you can find video online. If you're interested, the Star Tribune, Minneapolis Star Tribune did a full variety section article on me a couple months ago. You can just Google my name, Star Tribune, and they have kind of some interesting insights there from the reporter that followed me around. But one of the things she said that she found interesting was people that she didn't think would engage did.
Yes.
And I believe that ultimately it comes down to the same thing, love. And I'll go back to something, and I know we're running out of time here, that happened in Las Vegas when Penn Jillette came out. Years ago, I asked Penn of Penn and Teller, they're at the Real Theater. I asked Penn, how is it that I can do this to people? I can just throw this stuff out and kind of insult people and verbally accost them, and they don't run away or they laugh. And he's the one that said it's because really it comes down to how much you love people. And in this business that you and I are in, that's really what it is. If you don't love people and you don't love the commerce of human interaction, you're in the wrong damn business. And same with anywhere in entertainment. It has to come from your heart. If it does, the world as we see right now seems to be falling apart a little bit with the lack of love that we're showing one another. So hopefully we can get back to recognize love makes the world go round, and it certainly makes our businesses go round. So that's kind of what I think it is all about.
Great stuff, Carr. We got about a minute left or so. The book, if people want to buy the book, is it still available?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon. It's called Top Performer. Here's what it looks like. It's in paperback now, and it is still out there. And I'm working on some new projects. I have been for a long time, but I've got a couple of book updates coming this coming year. So if you Google my name every now and then, if I said something interesting, check it out. But you can find that on. You can probably find it for a penny used. Amazon doesn't do any favors. I'll tell you why, because there's a lot of used books out there that go for a song. But that's all right. I'd love to have people read it.
Yeah.
I got paid for it long ago, John.
Good. That's important. Somebody
Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, no, this is great. Thank you very much for being on. Gang, we'll be back in just a few minutes with Mitch Taylor. So we must be reaching about the halfway point, somewhere in that. We're getting close to that. I mean, this has been kind of a fun day. I don't know how boring we might be for those of you watching us out there in the internet world. But good stuff. I wasn't able to follow the chat room while Carr was on, but oh my gosh, what a knowledgeable. He's spoken at numerous conventions that we've had. We've had him up here at the Northern DJ Convention, and just his energy and you learn by just watching him when he's speaking. You're not even listening. You don't even need to listen to what he says, although you learn from that too. But just watching how he works a room and he works the space of a room is just fabulous. So that was a fun segment. Not that a lot of them aren't fun, but there's some folks I don't get to talk to very much, and Carr is definitely one of that I don't get to chat with too much. So we're just a few minutes away. Mitch will be coming in for our next segment here in just a couple of moments. We just want to take the opportunity to let you guys know tomorrow night on our show on the DJ and TV channel, we're only going to be doing 2 shows tomorrow night. I've got DJ Sarah Sims who's going to be coming in, and Sarah is a DJ. She's a producer. She's an EDM DJ, and she's going to be coming out with her first track, her first release, and I've seen the music video, listened to the song, and she's doing a cover of a song and the music video to go along with it. But it's a kind of more of a rock song that she's gone to, and she's going that direction. Some really, really cool stuff that she's going to be talking about, and we'll be talking about her working in the DJ world and being the producer and going through there. So yeah, Mitch better have my money. Yeah, Mitch will have. We'll get Mitch in here in just a couple of minutes, and then he can explain to you all of that side of things. So, oh, yeah, and I know we had Carr on, and we didn't talk about Bill once virtually at all, did we? I don't remember we did or didn't. So anyway, oh, good stuff. So thank you guys for being with us tonight. We're going to be going all the way up until 1 a.m. Eastern tonight. So we have got 5.5 hours remaining, which is about the time it takes for most of our weddings here in the Upper Midwest. So now we're getting to the point where I'm doing a wedding for the rest of the night. It's for those of you who do the 4-hour total dances, that doesn't happen with us here Oh, there's Mitch. He is our new software. Of course, some of you we've talked about this. Is it allows us to bring people in and such. So Mitch has got to get his video started here. I don't know if we'll get that going. And he will be with us in just a second. So we're going to run our spot, and we'll be back with Mitch Taylor in just one moment. Okay, we are up with the next session. We've got Mitch Taylor with. Good evening, Mitch.
Good evening, John. How you doing?
I am doing well. We are right at the halfway point. You mark the either the end of the first half, or you could be somewhere in there, or you could be like the first of Randy Bartlett's warm-up acts for the second half.
I'm smack dab in the middle. I hope you're enjoying your dinner, or whatever you happen to be doing right now on a Sunday evening. And thank you for joining the DJN TV.
Yes, we've had a great crowd watching today. It's been good stuff. So, Mitch, where are we going to go? What are we talking about tonight?
Two words that have absolutely changed my business when I first read them well over a decade ago, probably now. And they absolutely changed my business. And that is sum tertius. Now, you may be saying...
there were so many two-word phrases I was thinking of.
It probably wasn't that one. So sum tertius is Latin. And it means I am third. And this is from the book, The Closers by Ben Gay III. Ben Gay III is an author, motivational speaker, trainer, coach, someone I've looked at quite a while ago now, over a decade ago. But The Closers by Ben Gay III has a great story in it. And definitely highly recommend reading the book. But sum tertius, one of the last sentences in the book, and it translates to I am third. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you always put your client's needs ahead of your own, you will come out ahead way more often than not. And I discussed this in Sales for Event Pros, the book, and it's a shift in mindset that you have to have, and also a heart for exemplary customer service. So let me give you an example of how to approach this from a completely different industry.
Okay.
And this is a true-to-life example of what's happened to me. A new teller starts at a bank. She trains with a senior teller, and they're working through the drive-through together. They're going through procedures, and when a car comes up, they send the transaction out through that pneumatic tube. You know that pneumatic tube that comes through, right? The senior teller greets the customer and says hello, and then listens to the customer wants to cash a check. The senior teller shows the new teller, how to process a transaction or computer. And then she counts the money, and she puts it in the envelope for you. And then she turns on her microphone, and she looks at the camera and send the money back to the customer. Here you go. Please verify and sign. Have a great day. Right?
Yep.
We get that all the time. That's standard transaction protocol for most any bank. The new teller doesn't have all the transactions prior that a experienced, the senior teller has, right?
Right.
So she thinks about this and she wonders, is that how I would want to be treated? She's heard of the concept, sum tertius. She believes I am third. So the next transaction she takes, and the person in the drive-thru wants to cash a $75 check. She greets the customer warmly. Good morning. How can I help you today? The customer responds, I'd like to cash a $75 check, please. The senior teller lets the new teller know that the customer is a regular at the bank, and therefore there's no need to see ID because you often go through that, right, with new tellers. The new teller carefully processes the transaction, in the computer, and she pivots to the window and she turns on her microphone and camera and says, "I've got you all set, Mr. Taylor." She lifts her hands in the air and she holds out the money as she counts it back to Mr. Smith. "Mr. Taylor, here's 20, here's 40, here's 60, here's 70, here's 75. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. Taylor, and come back and see us soon whenever you need money." That's a different transaction.
For sure.
The senior teller stands there a little stunned, like, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
And the branch manager is behind watching the new teller in action and goes up to both teammates and says, "Wow, great job. I think you have a future here." Now, what's different? The senior teller was stuck in her ways. The senior teller was doing everything that she has always done, the same routine way. Not warm, not congenial, just focusing on the transaction and getting the customer out in an expedient manner. The new teller thought about how she wanted to be treated in this situation if she was the customer. The new teller worked her job to the benefit of the customer, and she represented her employer well. She took responsibility for the transaction. She owned her part in it.
Yeah.
She put the customer first. And how did she do that? By giving a benefit to the customer. She didn't have to have the customer verify and sign, right? Which makes the transaction longer.
Mm-hmm.
If the teller just counted the bills up in front and then sent it out. So, okay, that's great, Mitch, but you're talking about banking, and this is not about banking. This is about DJing. How does it apply to me?
Yeah. No, I see where you're, but go ahead.
The benefit is, and the reality is, what you'd be thinking about is this.
White paper.
It's a blank piece of paper.
Good.
Every single moment, every single transaction, every single interaction, write down what you do currently, and now how could that be better benefited for your client, for your customer? How could you approach that in a different mindset? You have to go into every single transaction or every single sales appointment, in my opinion, with a blank slate. You can't be thinking about, that last client didn't book, or I just got in a fight with my wife, or I got my kid's soccer tournament tonight. You can't go into it that way.
Yeah.
You have to approach every single transaction that way. So the exercise, the to-do action item for you out of this seminar that I just gave you a real world customer service example that happens to us every single day, every single week throughout the United States, at least, if not Canada and beyond. But the real world example for you now to implement into your DJ business is to write out your interactions with your customers. Now, how can you make that be a benefit to them? What can you do that would set your service apart? What could you do? One example would be, okay, they booked you for your services as entertainment. What if your very first email included online planning forms, and then also a video of how to walk through and actually have them put the information in, literally walking them through, you showing them how it's done versus just, well, here's your online planning forms, here's your username and password, and fill out this form and I'll, we'll talk about it in 6 months or whatever.
Right.
That's one idea. Okay. There are many ideas, but I'm not here to spoon feed you. I'm here to help you, brainstorm and think about how you can serve your clients better.
And I think a great idea, you're talking serving them, and to be able to do things, little things like that, to make their task easier. Whatever that may be. And again, we're not spoon feeding you, but think of ways in which, gosh, if they would have this information, this would make their part of their wedding easier. Yes. That's going to be gold.
Yeah, that's to me is the nugget here to take out of this mini seminar is, sum tertius, I am third, to truly approach every single client interaction that way, putting your client's needs ahead of your own. And then finally, how can you serve your clients better? And I heard this phrase, and I'll just share it. I'm trying to remember to give credit where credit is due. I forgot what speaker shared it, but it was at an NSA Mountain West meeting. And I loved it when I heard it. And it was, the goal is to serve, not to be sold. serve your clients, don't sell your clients. By serving them, you ultimately will, in fact, lead to a sale more often than not.
But I think that concept and such, I mean, we can even go back. We've talked about that. It's been alluded to a few times already today, is that it's about serving. It's about connecting. It's about meeting them where they are and helping them where they are to create. And that's such a huge part of your success.
Absolutely. So I hope that one little exercise, if you take nothing else out of this quick, mini session we're doing today for DJ and TV, is sum tertius, write that down. I am third. And then finally, think about that customer service transaction at a bank. Think about how you'd want to be treated. Think about how you could take that and now how can you better any other interaction you have with your client from the DJ side, and approach it from a blank sheet of paper. How can you recreate that process to benefit your client? So
good stuff, Mitch. Good stuff. Yeah. Quick shout out for the website where you have been working and diligently putting things together.
Yes. So you can find lots more information about me on tailoredsales.com. We also have the podcast with certified personality trainer Vicki Musney, and that's on creatingconnections.biz. And if you want to subscribe to the live at 7:55 videos that I do every weekday morning at 7:55 a.m., you can go to my Facebook feed and send me a friend request, show you're a DJ somehow on your profile, and I'll add you to the list so that you get notifications for that every time we go live at 7:55 each weekday morning.
Cool. Good stuff. Very, very good. Mitch, we're going to bounce along here. Thank you very much. We'll be
Awesome.
up in just a few minutes with Arnoldo.
Thank you, John.
Thanks
Take care.
Bye. Bring you in just a second. So, hey, we're back. Gosh, you guys have gotten some great content here, and we've got more coming up in just a second. I've got Arnoldo. He's in. If you're into track, he's like on deck. He's on deck. That's it. Yes. Good stuff today. If you guys are watching, thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this after the fact, all of the links for all the shows are out at djntv.com/mini sessions. You can watch each and every show there, because we have them all there. So, Arnoldo, I'm going to bring you in right here. Here we go. Good
Hey,
evening.
John. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We are now over halfway through our marathon today, and I wanted to bring you in, and we're going to talk about important stuff.
Yes. Important stuff. No, actually, so I wanted to talk about something that's been coming up quite a bit, I think, especially with all this recent, political BS and everything that's going on, and that is really report via social media. We get so many people that are still sticking with that old, don't discuss religion, politics, make any offensive jokes because your clients can see. And I think that was real pertinent back before social media existed.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that has really led to the success of my business, both school dance related and weddings and even just work with manufacturers, is that they know that I'm not going to BS them around, specifically because of my social media presence. If I add somebody on Facebook, if I add a client onto our business, they know that to me, it's more than just a client-vendor relationship. We want to be friends with them. We want to get to know on that personal level. And that isn't just a real sales pitch. I mean, that's just a real genuine thing that we base their company by. I'm a big believer that people buy from people that they like, but they're also going to be more honest. And when you look at feedback, for example, if you mess up, they always say, you look at a client that will say, well, we didn't like the DJ because of this and this. And then they start piling on these little things that, really didn't matter at all, just because it was one thing that they didn't like. But when you actually build that rapport with the client, and if there was something that was negative in your performance, and no company is 5.0 all the way across. There's always one thing that your clients would think, well, you know what? It could be better if you do this. And I'm happy that I've built a rapport with my clients that, if we do, like, for example, a school dance, everything was great, but I really wish if the DJ had done this and this instead. Right. And they're not asking for money back. They're not asking for a freebie. They are genuinely interested in us succeeding as a company, so we can, then help them succeed in the future. Mm-hmm. But really, how do you form that partnership? Because I think that's something that a lot of people have struggled with. Social media has made this easier than ever. I will post my feelings about current election results. I will post my feelings about religion. I will post horribly dirty jokes. I have no filter. And my clients are the exact same way. It's all of a sudden like if we as vendors forget, oh, that's right, our clients, whether it's teachers or a bride or anybody else, they're people too. So what I get is I'll get my clients that will sometimes jump in. A lot of my clients are teachers. So we all know how they feel regarding current, the election turmoil and everything else. They're all pretty much on that same side. But then, I have different clients, corporate clients or wedding brides. Some of them will agree, some of them will disagree. And 99% of the time, we'll get in a lively debate. But in the end, we're all friends because you have to know how not to act like a child about it. Then I get some that are just easily offended, never want to do business with me again. I think it's only been 2 or 3 times, honestly, that I've known of. But then that's not the people I want to do business with in the very end. Not because they got offended easily, but because they did not want to connect on that one-to-one level. Mm-hmm. That's really something that we want to work on. The other way is really just taking a genuine interest in the client. And again, social media really helps us out. Posting on their Facebook once a year, happy birthday, is not building a relationship. DJs, please, it's like going to church on Easter or Christmas. Okay, we know you're BSing it. So don't just post your client once a year, happy birthday, and that's it. If you see that, they're going out to a play, actually, almost all my clients right now are going to see Wicked. Mm-hmm. And I know nothing about Wicked, but I've noticed that it's been a huge trend or whatnot. And I remember I posted on one, I was like, yeah, the only thing I know about Wicked was the whole South Park episode. And then somebody else had jumped in. And again, it was a fun conversation, nothing business related.
Yeah.
But what I've seen taught before is, well, it should be, where you make a conversation with them and then you try to bring business into it. No, not everything has to be business related. Sometimes it's okay to just chew the fat. I remember actually one of my clients had posted that she was going to get her first gun ever. I'm like, oh, this is exciting. So we were talking back and forth about, what guns are out there and what she was looking at. Ultimately, she finally chose her pistol that she wanted. And, we had talked like, listen, let's go to the range. Let's go to the range, have a couple different guns that we can try out. And, we met at the range and, we accidentally did talk business, but that was never my intent.
Right.
People are smart. We discredit people in general, but people are smart. They're going to know if you're trying to form a business relationship or if you're trying to form that genuine connection. Now, that does not mean that they're going to hire you every single time. I have some people that I'm friends with that don't use Four Schools only because it's ultimately up to the students or it's completely out of their hands. And I'm not going to say, oh, we're not going to talk anymore, because then they're going to know. But at the same time, if I need a favor from them, even a business favor, hey, listen, I heard that so-and-so is taking over this school dance, and I know you're a mutual friend to them. Could you do me a favor and maybe introduce both of us? Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. So now you have that mutual friend connection, which is much more powerful than a mutual business connection. So really, in summary, it's not hard. It really isn't. You just have to get out of that mindset of making business connections. Like LinkedIn. I don't get LinkedIn. I think that's the most worthless thing out there because that is that 1980s, let's make that Zig Ziglar business connection. No, people are reading past that. Make that social connection. Understand who your client is. Understand who they're, what they're into. And if you're going to tie a conversation into that, make it genuine. Don't make it, well, I'm going to try to slip in this reference in the business meeting because I know they're into that. Sometimes it's okay to do that, but if you do that again and again and again, people are going to call you out on it.
Yep.
So, now, how many minutes do I have left? Because there's a second.
We've got 4 minutes left.
Okay, wonderful. So now here's the dangerous part of that. I don't want to just run over the time. No, what'll happen is whatever happens, if any drama happens, keep it on your wall, because there's still that social media etiquette that is not really written. But if you're going to come on my wall and you want to debate with me and somebody jumps in and, calls me an idiot or whatever, I'm going to fire back. And my clients have seen it a lot of times. We get a laugh out of it, right? But if it's on their wall and they're posting something, yeah, I might agree or disagree. But then if, let's say, somebody else jumps in, I'm not going to say, oh, no, you're a freaking idiot.
Yep.
Because that somebody else might be their boss. It might be their relative. It might be their dear old Nana. And now you've crossed that line. And I know it sounds crazy to say, well, if it's on your wall, it's okay. If it's on their wall, it's not. But it's really that kind of, it's social media unwritten etiquette. Like me, again, I have no filter, but I'm not going to go and pick a fight on my client's wall.
Yep,
I would. And at the same time, guys, especially single guys, okay? If you have a good-looking client, or even ladies, for those who are watching, if you have a good-looking client, don't sit there and start stalking your client and their friends. I have one of my clients that told me that their previous DJ, when it's like, hey, your friend's kind of cute, can you hook me up with her? That is definitely over the line, unless you've got a really good relationship with them. Wow. You've got to have a great relationship with your client. You just don't outright go and ask them that. That is definitely not a referral service that I don't think any salesperson will ever condone of. And again, this really applies pretty much all the way throughout. It definitely applies to me with school dances. It's huge. I add all my school clients, but I only add them after I've built that one-on-one personality. Not because I don't want them to know the real me, but because I don't know where they're at. They may be somebody that doesn't want to have that level of connection.
Yep.
And I have a couple of clients that don't have social media, so I don't really get a chance to interact with them one-on-one. And I've noticed that at the sales meetings or the day of, I have a harder time making that one-on-one connection. So really utilize that social media. Keep your majority of business and your spamming, whatever. Keep that crap on your main fan page or your personal or your business page.
Yeah.
But your personal page, make it specifically about your personal stuff. John, I can't tell you. I'm sure you were at NAM every time somebody were with me. Somebody come up, hey, Arnoldo, how are the chickens? Manufacturers, DJs, hey, are you chickens? The same thing with my events. People notice that. I notice things in their personal life. Time that at the event or a business meeting really helps solidify that business connection.
It really does. It really does. That making that personal side. Arnoldo, good stuff. For those of you watching, how many of you would have thought you would have gotten a lecture about the line on social media from Arnoldo?
Right?
Let's be.
But you know what? Hold on. I can tell you this right now, that anybody here watching that bought Master School Dances probably bought it after getting in a fight with me.
They got an argument.
But it's all understanding. Friendship is friendship. Business is business. Learn to compartmentalize in the end.
Good stuff, Arnoldo. Great stuff. Gang, we'll be right back in about 5 minutes. We're going to switch video players. Go to the djntv.com/mini sessions for the next link. Arnoldo, thanks for being on tonight.
Thank you for having me.